We did this once before, and why not? Let's do it again. This is fun. And these are like the two perfect people to have on the air to talk everyone off a cliff before the election day. Of course, as I mentioned, Cliff Schecter, of course, we have on all the time. Cliff's Edge is the fantastic YouTube page where you can find great content, and you can become a subscriber and a member. Join his Patreon. It is so worth it. But also joining us right now, he is from Riff Tracks. He's from Mystery Science Theater 3000. We've had him on multiple times as well. Bill Corbett as well. So it's Cliff Schecter and Bill Corbett, kind enough to join us today to talk, I don't know, cooking, baseball, football. Why not?
Yeah!
Good to see you guys, man.
Good to see you.
Yeah. It's good to see you both. Last time I saw you, we were having a nice brunch after a night of sexy liberalness.
That's right.
Ended there in Minneapolis. So awesome to be with you guys again.
Got the band back together. Thanks, Matt.
That's right.
We did, in like a VH1 episode. So I'm going to actually start with Bill, because Cliff and I are liberal harpies. We all know that. But here you're just regular citizen when you're not doing the fantastic work for Riff Tracks and such. Do you know a lot of Republicans who have basically said, you know what, I'm voting Harris this time, where I'm not voting for Trump no matter what? Do you know a lot? Have that happened to you?
Well, that happened to me already in 2020. I come from a family with a fair amount of Republicans who were peeling off already, and they were just like, I cannot go with that guy, and making at least baby steps toward it. And they were like, I'm voting for Biden. So I think it has only gotten worse. I know my sister is more like me politically. She is pretty conservative, but like the Roe versus Wade thing is just a game changer, 100%.
You know, and Cliff, This is something that you and I, this is the great mystery number. And I think we're seeing it a little bit in that Iowa poll that came out this weekend that showed Harris up by 3. So. How many Republicans are defecting from the Republican ticket and voting for Harris? I think that Iowa poll is spot on.
I do too. First of all, Ann Selzer, who did it, is the gold standard. It's hilarious. I was watching some right-wing chump from Fox News searching for a poll that she screwed up, and he pulled it out from 2004, and I just burst out laughing. I'm like, so you're a real winner, aren't you? You had to go back 20 years, and you think you're winning to find one that she got wrong. And the funny thing is, she got it wrong by 5 points. And here's the thing. If she even were wrong by 5 points and Trump were up 2 in Iowa, he's getting killed in this election. Yeah. Right? I mean, he won Iowa by 9 points last time. We're 1 point to the left. And I told you this on this show, Matt. I don't know if I've talked to Bill since then, but the only reason why we're not ahead here, too, is about 3 months ago, maybe because of Sherrod Brown, the Senate race here, or J.D. Vance is on the ticket, they polled and they freaked out. And I heard that from Republicans I knew, that they saw they were behind. So they started massively advertising here. And the last poll that just came out here still only has them up 3 points. And they have no ground game here, because all they got is Elon Musk hiring people and taking them in dangerous vans places and firing them. And I mean, so when you add, I don't want to talk too much, flow back to Bill, but my main point is I think tomorrow we're going to beat them very handily, because I think Iowa is right. I think the Kansas poll that had us only down 5 is right. I think the poll here that has us only down 3, and that's because they've advertised nonstop for 3 months, and we only responded with maybe 20% of the ads, is right. And if that's all right, then imagine what Texas is. Imagine what North Carolina is. Imagine what Florida is, 1 million Puerto Ricans. I don't know. It's weird. I don't think being called an island of garbage worked really well in winning the Puerto Rican vote. I could be wrong. I've been wrong about stuff before, but I don't. So I honestly think this is going to be kind of kicking a word that I can't say because you're regulated by the FCC.
Well, Bill, comedy. Would you ever go into a town and let me tell you about a crap hole? Because it's not just that. We should remember, he was in Detroit, and he badmouthed Detroit. Michigan, Detroit right now is overwhelming the early vote right now. Bill, as a comedian, how much comic value do you get by looking at your audience and saying, hey, you idiots?
It's a questionable strategy. Let me put it that way. But if you are going to do it at all, you have to have a level of skill that none of these bozos have. Quite aside from everything else, that guy is a terrible comedian with terrible timing and just dumb MAGA jokes. They're never very funny. But I also would add that, like, this, just from a political standpoint, they think that going into a state and just trashing the biggest city is going to win it to them. That's not where the population is. Like, you can only win over so many exurbs, and it doesn't really amount to anything in Minnesota, as you know, Matt. It's like they had them convince themselves that if you get like a little patch of red near the north of the state, you're going to just kill it. But no, like, the people are in the cities and increasingly the suburbs, and there's only so many car dealership guys in the exurbs who can pull your nuts out of the fire after that.
As International Falls goes, well, I don't know. No, not really.
And can I say something? I mean, I'm by far no Bill Corbett, because I made a questionable decision when I got out of grad school, when I seriously said to myself, I either can move out to Los Angeles and become a comedy writer, which I was thinking of seriously doing, or I can move to D.C. and become a political writer. And did I make the wrong choice?
Oh, I don't know. But another time.
Maybe they both would have beaten me down to where I am right now, hiding in the Midwest in Cincinnati, and very happy, by the way. But I do know enough about jokes to know that there has to be an actual setup to a joke based on a sort of a common understanding that people have. And the punchline has to be sort of an exaggerated version of the truth. You can make racist jokes, and I don't, but you can make racist jokes that are at least stereotypical jokes that are funny. I personally think they're wrong, but okay, you can do that. But taking a random place and attaching it to a random horrible thing and thinking that's funny, like, ha, 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 you're from Minnesota. That smells like urine. And everybody's just like, what's the punchline? What's the connection? I don't get it. Like, there was nothing. It was just a racist insult. That's all it was, hiding behind, I'm a comedian. Well, and, thank you to him for that, because nothing else was breaking through our crappy both sides media that refuses to tell people the truth. Well, Ricky Martin's 19 million Instagram followers and Bad Bunny's 45 million Instagram followers and J-Lo's 250 million and Mark Anthony's 13 million, and I could go on and on. They broke through. And that was, yes.
Well, and I'll also say that the cherry on top is that it was some advisor of J.D. Vance, some like cool, edgy MAGA kid who got that comedian the gig. And so it's like bad choices just all the way down, giving them what they richly deserve.
Robert Baril, the comedian, was on my show, and he just said, it's lazy comedy. I mean, it was lazy comedy, and if you got a guy like that, it's never going to go well. Cliff, going back to something you said, I thought it was interesting because, of course, you're in Ohio, and, I think it is the Vance thing. That must be it. I mean, the local Republican Party must have circled the wagons there and kind of trying to protect Vance, but they're not doing that anywhere else. I mean, they clearly had no strategy in Texas, in Florida, in North Carolina, in Iowa, Kansas, that they never put any thought on how we were going to save these states if they start going south on us. And,
especially if there was no big Senate race there, I would say. It could have been Vance, but it could have also been Sherrod Brown. There's no big Senate race in Kansas, for example, just the same way there is in Iowa. And so if there wasn't some other big race that they were polling, again, Donald Trump run the campaign the way he's run his businesses and his marriages, which is to say, he's an absentee landlord. Well, that's when he's not busy discriminating against people of color. But otherwise, he's an absentee landlord. He doesn't know he doesn't pay attention. He doesn't care. He can't pay attention to anything for more than 3 seconds. So he hires a team of people that are just sycophants. And I mean, it's malpractice. You would have been looking at all these places. So what I find really interesting now are the states. I just saw one that had us only down by it had Tester up by 4 in Montana.
Yeah,
and it had us down by 12. And again, if you do the math on that, Biden lost Montana by about 20. That would mean we're about 8 points closer in Montana. Well, when you start doing that math everywhere else, we only lost South Carolina by 11 points. Okay, we lost Missouri, I think, by about 14, 15. I mean, you start getting to a point where a lot of places become swing states, and they don't even know because they haven't bothered to pull. Alaska, we only lost by 10. Like they even polled these places.
Alaska is really close, actually. Alaska could go because it's
what's happening there.
Yeah, it's reversed in Alaska. In the cities, they generally vote Republicans. In the rural areas, they vote the Democrats. And the Democrats have picked up a lot of ground in Alaska. I mean, gosh, wouldn't that be bizarre? We're waiting for Alaska to come in and make the decision on this.
Well, let's hope that Alaska is just part of the fun, huge, I'll say butt kicking now, so I don't, that we give. I mean, and look, with Mary Peltola winning, we've had Democrats who have won, the Senate races there. Sure. It's been headed, and Murkowski is as close to an independent as you can get in that Republican Party. Like, it's been headed in that direction. I think the answer is a little bit like the answer in Montana, is there are some actual, like a lot of Republicans hide behind the libertarian label because at this point they're embarrassed by being Republican. I think there's actual legitimate, and I know some libertarians in Montana and Alaska who are just like, all of the development, right? The bay up in Alaska, I can't remember, they're destroying that pristine bay. And all these right-wingers bringing development and destroying areas where people fish and where people hunt. These are people that were Republicans, and they're angry. And they're real libertarians, and they've started voting Democratic. That's what I think it is.
The North Carolina is going to be interesting. Now, Bill, you and I both know. We're on a porn website. I'm in the comments section. That's where the fun and games always are. Why
did I get
you and Mark Robinson, yeah?
Exactly. When that story broke, especially all the Nazi stuff along with it, which it just, even by just mentioning it meant quickly, it just doesn't even sound real. You knew it was going to be bad for him in North Carolina. Right. North Carolina, another state, they never dreamed in a million years it would be up for grabs. And I have said this, you get down there, he's going to lose by 20 points, and you're just not going to get 21% of the voting population in North Carolina voting for the Democratic governor and then voting for Trump. That's just not going to happen.
Of course not. And look, even if these are over-optimistic polls, including the Iowa one, they point to a consistent direction, and it's a very bad story for Trump and company. So really, I kind of feel like it's like, well, we're either going to win pretty handily or it's going to be a blowout. Like, it doesn't feel like there's anything worse is going to happen. And I could just be like Pollyanna-ish right now, but
you're not
enough of a consistent story with the numbers. I also am aware that it just seems like polling is broken, just utterly broken, and that they are consistently working their models to get to that, well, it's a toss-up thing every time, because that's the drama that sells their media. And so they work backwards from that premise, and then they get to that so they can do that. But I don't think it's describing reality as we know it right now.
Mm-hmm. Cliff, you got something down? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I know we have time. I mean, I'll add, look, Rasmussen, Trafalgar, these places, they're not real polling houses. They're doing to polling what the National Review and Heritage Foundation and places like Fox News did to media, because they cheated everything. That's all they know how to do. So, I mean, what they've done is, and that's why, Bill, I mean, it's right to always be skeptical. And when I first saw that Kansas poll, I was really skeptical until I saw the Ohio poll and saw the Iowa poll. And so it's not that I sit there and I am Pollyannish. I really try to be as hard-headed about this stuff as I can be from my background of having worked on presidential polling, written presidential ads in 2020. And I would tell you back then, look, there was a scandal, and it's ridiculous there was a scandal because it was compared to what Trump does every day. But our candidate, who's running for the Senate, a lot like John Edwards, it turned out, was a veteran. Everybody loved him, a trial lawyer, and then he had an affair with a fellow veteran's wife, and he dropped below. We, at that time, were up by about a point, okay? Because I was seeing those polls in North Carolina. Joe Biden was. So if they had no idea that Joe Biden could win there, and when that guy fell, Biden fell underneath, and we still only lost by a point. And Cooper still hung on. So if they had no idea, that's because they're incompetent.
Guys, we had to take a quick little break. When we come on back, we're going to talk about the Utes, and then we're going to make a prediction about the Electoral College vote, okay? We'll try to do that. Bill Corbett from Riff Tracks and MST3K, and, of course, Cliff Schecter from Cliff's Edge over on YouTube. We'll take a break, come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, Mr. DJ, put a record on. I want to dance with my baby.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, and 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Bill Corbett from Riff Tracks and MST3K is available. Go to Riff Tracks. By the way, if you've not gone to Riff Tracks, hilarious. Seriously, it's about one of the few things that keep me freaking sane this election cycle is laughing with these guys. Riff Tracks is brilliant. If you want a good laugh, Bill, you're fantastic on that.
Thank you.
You are. Bill, you're hilarious. Stop denying it.
Yeah. And of course,
Shaw.
and Cliff Schecter, of course, Cliff's Edge on YouTube. You guys did you've been doing the live streams there. Those are looking great, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I really love it. I'll shock you that I'm a people person, except for MAGA people who I hate. But normal humans, who have positive EQs, you know what I mean, and bathe properly and the rest. I love getting questions and interacting, and so I started this channel, and I'm still doing some of them, but I was doing these very produced 5-minute, commentaries with movie clips in them and stuff, and I'm still doing a little bit of that, but I'm doing a lot more of shorts where I can just talk directly after something big happens, but also I've started doing the live streams almost every day, and today we got 13,000 people, which is nuts.
Nice, man.
I mean, I think that's the election. I'm feeling, well, we're going to win big tomorrow, and then Trump won't shut up about it, and it'll go on for a month. So I suppose maybe I'd rather that he go away and I not get those numbers. But, I was shocked by that today, honestly, because normally it's more in the 4,000 or 5,000 range. And I love it. And today, some days like today, I just do question and answer. So I didn't have a guest on. I just said, you guys are here. What do you want? What do you want to know? Let me, if there's polling stuff I can help with, ad stuff I can answer, whatever it might be. And I found something that I actually really love to do. So,
cool, man.
It is. I'm addicted to it. So I'm probably going to, at some point I'll be doing them at least, this week it's going to be at least 4 or 5 days, but I've gone very quickly from 1 day a week a month ago to all right, I'm going to find time to make those other shorter commentary videos because I'm enjoying this too much. So It's pretty cool.
Well, and of course, make sure you join his Patreon. If you go to the page, the Cliff's Edge page on YouTube, there's a link for that, and you should sign up. I've signed up. It's a good thing to do. Guys, when you look at the three of us, I think one thing that you can't deny is that we understand youth culture. And it was interesting. The Trump campaign clearly went after young white men as this was going to be their firewall. And that is kind of dissolved on them. Having talked to my daughter who's up at UMD and in the political science realm up there, she says, yeah, initially they were like that, but they've all come around. They've realized, no, this is not going to work to go there.
Matt, as you know, my daughter is also up at UMD, and she presented the results of their presidential poll, and it was something like 93% for Harris. So, and even I have to say, even that is 7%. What the hell's wrong with you kids? But I don't know if that was, accounting for other third-party votes or not. But it was not even close. So that's yet another narrative they've pulled out of their keister about, that just has dissolved as reality hits.
And Cliff, when you see this, the youth vote, clearly young women. My daughter is upset. My youngest daughter, who is in high school still, she's upset she can't vote this election cycle.
Sorry.
I was just saying that it's come back to bite them. This whole overturning of Roe v. Wade has clearly bitten them with this Generation Z, and they are not going back to the Republicans.
No, the dog caught the car. They were trying to catch it for a while, and they didn't realize how lucky they were that they kept putting people like Souter on the court who kept not doing what they wanted to do. One of the biggest groups in that Iowa poll, one of the two big groups that are going over and voting for Harris, why she's leading, are older rural women.
Yes.
Who are conservative, who voted Republican their whole lives, and suddenly they're like, wait a minute, my daughter and granddaughter, they probably wanted some restrictions on abortion, right? Mm. But when they realize they're seeing these things where their daughter, they have to now worry if their granddaughter gets pregnant, that she literally is a ward of the state, and they own her body to the point where she can be made to sit in a waiting room somewhere because they don't trust it's a miscarriage and die. And that's a hell of a thing to realize they've done. So it's that, but it's also, as you said, younger women have in the last couple cycles have been coming out stronger for Democrats, young single women, younger women. But now it's it's gone nuts. And I think a big part of that, obviously, is Dobbs and those things. I think as Trump has become more crude, not to say that he ever wasn't, but as he's gotten more tired and he's one of the worst human beings that's walking this earth right now. We can agree upon that. As he's said and done these things, I mean, what he did with the microphone that I also can't say on here.
Yeah.
And some of the things he's done are just so utterly despicable that I think that sent women running. But the other interesting thing is that I think Kamala Harris, being somebody who is, optimistic, has a sense of humor, can make fun of herself, and is younger. Look, when you look at politics, the three of us are actually young for presidential law. You know what I mean? I mean, they're sick of looking at like 200-year turtles like Mitch McConnell, that they got from the Galapagos or somewhere, and they wanted to get to a point. And look, I thought I did work for Biden. I didn't agree with him on everything, but I think he will be a very important president. But Kamala was necessary, just like Hakeem Jeffries was necessary in the House. We needed at least to move on to Gen X, okay? And you have people in their 50s doing this stuff, and that's where we are. And I think it's been better to get the youth vote with that.
Guys, all right, so in about a minute we got left here. Bill, I'll start with you. How do you think this is going to go? Electoral college vote, Biden won 302, I believe it was. Where do you think Harris is going to fall after all this is done?
I don't know numbers nearly as well as you guys, but just like you said, they caught the car, and it's going to back over them now, and it's going to be 325 plus.
Wow. Okay. Cliff, what do you think?
I absolutely agree. I actually think it could be in the range of 375 or something of that nature.
Wow.
Because remember, if it's one or two, there are a million Puerto Ricans in Florida. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, remember, if one or two of those states, you don't even need to win a bunch. Texas has 38 electoral votes. They lose that alone, and we go above Bill. So it's not, I think we'll only win maybe a half dozen more states than Biden did. But I think a few of them are going to be some pretty big ones.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, spectacular. We need to do this again. This is fantastic. Hopefully it's not on the precipice.
I would do this every other week if you and Bill were willing to join, because I have so much fun with you guys. So you decide. I'm not as cool. So, I will do what you want.
Cliff's Edge is at YouTube. Cliff Schecter is there. Riff Tracks. Go to Riff Tracks for Bill Corbett and his crew over there. Guys, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Awesome. Great seeing you guys.
Chicago, Seattle. Talk to you later. Minneapolis, St. Paul. Hour 2 up next.